Romeo Papa Sierra.
Yeah, 2 Echo 0, Romeo Papa Sierra. Rodriguez, isn't it? Sorry, your name, Rod. Your name escaped me momentarily. Very good afternoon to you now. Yes, it's past 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. And nice to hear you. It's been a while. Back to you.
Hello there, Mark. Good afternoon to you. Yes, it's been a while indeed. Yes, haven't, you know what it's like sometimes with work and family and so on. Actually, I did hear you yesterday on 10 as well, and I realized there was quite a good opening yesterday on 10 with East Europe, so I've had a few nice contacts, and I heard you, but you were talking with German stations. I didn't want to bother, but I thought I'd come and say hello, Mark. So, Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox, 2 Echo 0, Romeo Papa Sierra. Back to you, over.
Yeah, 2E0RPS M0 JCF. Yeah, well, thanks for joining me and thanks for jumping in. In fact, you're my second local UK contact this morning. I've just been not long talking to Peter, G4OIM. He hasn't been on for a couple of months. He hasn't been well, apparently. I think there's a lot of it going around. I know me and my wife have had snotty noses, etc. But it hasn't been bad, you know. But I stayed away from the radio 3 or 4 days. I just couldn't be bothered with it. But yeah, yesterday was a good opening. Yesterday morning, I gave it 2 hours between 10 and 12, or actually it was 10 and 12:20. But in the 2 hour block, I managed 15 contacts, 4 different countries. So Germany, Poland, France and Switzerland. So all in a group that you would imagine. And this morning I've been in the garden all morning just reading a book in the sunshine, and I baked myself a loaf of bread, so you know that was sitting there rising, and I thought, right, it's going in the oven now. This was at 11:30. I thought while it's in the oven, it takes about half an hour to bake. I'll have a quick go on the radio. So yeah, Peter jumped in. Then I got IK1WGV, that was Peter in Torino, and then OK1 Papa Whiskey Rudolph there in the Prague, capital of the Czech Republic, and then yourself. So yeah, I always check the beacons first, and I heard the Salerno beacon, which is just south of Naples on the Adriatic coast. So is it the Adriatic coast that side? No, it isn't, is it? It's Mediterranean. Adriatic's on the other side. But I also heard SSB conversations going on. One of them was Bosnia. So I knew there would probably be some sporadic E in that direction. So sort of midway down Italy, up to Eastern Europe, just around Italy. And sure enough, it was the case. I got first Italy and then the Czech Republic. But as I say, I had to rush off at 12 o'clock. I was on 28405, and I had to rush off because, you know, it got to 12 o'clock and I thought I'll burn the house down in a moment. So I had to release the frequency, and I believe that Rudolph took it over, because when I came back a minute or so later, after taking the bread from the oven and turning the oven off, he was talking to a G station. So I just left the frequency with him and just shifted up a bit. So that's the story, mate. Yeah, the usual DX has been coming in later in the day on 10 meters. I've been working, you know, like South America, South Africa, that sort of thing, you know, all the usual suspects you get this time of the year on 10. And then, yeah, but specifically, I've been looking for sporadic E contacts, you know, short skip on 10 meters. I haven't really been looking for any DX. If the odd DX station comes back to me, it's not a problem. But I am particularly looking for the short skip, you know, because obviously outside of sporadic E, you don't tend to get the short skip on 10 meters. But that's the story there, mate. 2E0RPS M0 JCF.
Yeah, QSL, Mark. Obviously, I don't need to say you 5 and 9 plus 20 dB, I believe. Obviously, we are local, so that kind of makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. I've had a similar situation once. I was cooking some croissants you know, the one that you buy ready, but obviously you roll it and you put it in the oven. And yeah, those one really takes minutes. And but I was on the radio, and obviously they did burn all of them. But yes, I learned my lesson. Interestingly, I've also been out in the garden. I already did some shopping early this morning. Obviously, I'm off today, and already prepared some food for later. And it's been a very, very nice day outside in the garden. It's been very, very nice. And because it's kind of, it was sunny, but with the fresh air, which was just perfect. And with the radio, yeah, same here. I've been on and off, and of course, also recent weeks, there's been a lot of solar activities, which, as you know, there was a lot of disruption and poor propagation. So some days I just gave up, and that was the reason why I haven't been much on the radio. I also was in Italy for a few weeks in May. I was there to see my mum. And I'm actually from, not far from Salerno. I am from a city called, I was born in a city called Taranto, which is only a one and a half hour drive from Salerno, but it's on the other side. So it's on the, you got the Adriatic Sea, which is on the east side, if you know what I mean, where you got Greece and Croatia. That's the Adriatic Sea. And on the other side, where Salerno, Naples, that is the Tyrrhenian Sea. That's on the other side. Interestingly, my father comes from a small village, literally a few kilometers away from Salerno, and I got family there as well, in Salerno. There's quite a few members of my family there, obviously with my surname, in Salerno. It's interesting. I used to go there as a kid, as a young boy. It's been a long time since I haven't been there, but one day I may. And yeah, again, I'm the same. I don't particularly look for a specific thing. I just, depending on the bands, on the frequencies, depending on the activities, I just go for it. Sometimes I go on 40. Well, actually, I do often go on 40 for a casual conversation. But obviously, because we are now in the summer period, as you know, it's during the day 40 meters is not that great. It's got to be early morning, I guess, or maybe late in the evening. But usually by 10 o'clock I'm in bed, so I can't go on 40 after 10. It's too late for me. So that's the story from this end, Mark. I hope you're well and everything is fine with the family as well. Michael 0, Juliet Charlie Foxtrot 2 Echo 0, Romeo Papa Sierra.
Yeah, 2E0RPS M0 JCF are absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you can't beat the sunshine. We've had such a rubbish spring, apart from the odd couple of days. You know, it's just nice now not for it to be really windy or pouring with rain or just cold, you know, freezing cold. But no doubt, give it a few days, and you know what British are like. They'll all be moaning about how hot and dry it is. You can't win. But the other thing I've been doing out in the garden is I planted over the last 20 odd years we've lived here. I've planted lots of fruit trees. When we moved here, we only had a pear tree. Now we've got apples and plums and cherries, lots of hazel trees. I planted one hazel tree, but now we've got at least 4 of them. And you know, just a walnut tree. I planted a walnut tree in the winter, so you know. But we've got a problem, obviously, with cherries especially. We've got a problem with the parrots and the magpies and the pigeons. So I've been out there doing my scarecrow act, keeping the birds away from the cherries. I've been eating the cherries. They're not 100% ripe. I'd say there was about 80% there. They do need another 4 or 5 days to get to their absolute best. But you can't, you know. I have to pick them and put them in the kitchen because the you know, the birds get them. And if we're not careful as well, the parrots in particular, they eat all of the young pears, the young apples, that sort of thing, you know. They do get into the tops of the trees, And come the autumn, when the apples and pears are ready, you know, the parrots have eaten a lot of those ones. And then when the pears especially are due to drop, they're ready for picking, you go out in the garden in the morning and you'll find lots of pears all over the lawn, and the pigeons have been pecking. They land in the tree and they peck near the stalk. So these pears then drop, but they've been pecked and chewed by the the pigeon. So what I tend to do then is cut off the tops where they've been pecking and made them drop, and then I make chutneys and that sort of thing. You know, I do lots of preserves, and I make lots of like chili type sauces, but I use the pears as a base of as the base sauce. And then I add chilies and other herbs and stuff and fruit. Normally I'll put dried fruit in there, mince it all up. And I preserve a lot of this so that for the next year or so, my garage has got jars and jars of all these different chutneys and preserves that I've made. So I don't let anything go to waste. I'm like that, you know, but I just need to keep the birds away from the soft fruits. So that's the other reason for being out in the garage, you know. Every now and again I see them, and I call my daughter's got a dachshund, and I call the dachshund, Frank, go and get them, and he goes tearing off down the garden, you know, to scare the birds away. Never catches them, but it's good fun to watch. And that's the story there, mate. 2E0RPS M0JCF.
Yeah, Roger, Mark. Yeah, same here, exactly the same here. We do have lots of trees, and we plant. We've got tomatoes in a small greenhouse, and herbs as well, obviously, rosemary, bay leaves, and all that. And you're right, is that you can't beat that feeling when you just pick up something from a tree and you eat it straight away. It's just unbelievable. We like it with the cherries because even though we have a couple of smaller trees, they're actually packed at the moment, full of cherries. But the good thing is that our neighbor next to us has got a massive tree with cherry. It's one of those, God knows, must be 50 years old. And obviously the birds, that's where they go. That's what they see first. So luckily I haven't had a problem yet. But I know with the pears and stuff like that, yeah, lots of those fruits do go waste sometime because birds being birds. Interestingly, last year, for the first time, we were able to heat figs. We have a fig tree, but figs does need a serious high temperature and a prolonged sun, obviously. And last year, for the first time, we were able to have up to eat about 5-6 fairly nice ripe figs. So that was quite a nice thing for us to do. We have grapes, believe it or not, and even our neighbor has got grapes, and his grapes do fall into my garden because it's a tall structure that he has. So a lot of these grapes end up in my garden. They're like black, small grapes, very sweet, absolutely fantastic. And interesting, he doesn't eat it. He's got all that because he uses the leaves, the grape leaves for cooking, but he doesn't really eat grapes. It's interesting. And when I said to him, look, I say, your grapes I'm eating your grapes. They're coming into my garden. You didn't even know they were edible. I said, yes, they are. I took pictures and I show him. They just, yeah, I mean, so here we go. So we definitely have plenty of stuff over here as well. I mean, sometimes I wish the garden was bigger. I mean, it's not a small garden, but, when you start doing this kind of things, then you realize that it would be nice to have a bigger garden. But it's interesting how many people also here on the street where I live, the majority actually of people don't do much. I don't even see many people in the garden, using the garden. I'm thinking, what are they doing? Are they just watching TV all day in the summertime? It's a bit odd. I don't see anyone in the garden. I don't see very few. Only the older people seem to be more interested in this type of things. But some of the younger people don't do much, and then some people they even take the grass off completely and they put like fake grass or things like that. I don't really understand that, honestly. I mean, there's many people living in flats who would love to have a piece of garden, and we have it, so we use it, definitely. We definitely use it. And so for people who has it and they just turn it into a fake ground with plastic, it doesn't make sense to me. But what can I say? Everyone is different. And so we obviously have benches outside, the table, so we have a couple of different spots where we can sit, because obviously the sun is moving around during the day, so afternoon is a different spot and daytime is another spot. So now next thing I'm going to do is I've got a portable aerial with me. I'm going to set up a portable station in the garden one of those days. Why not? Just to give it a test and see how everything works, and then I can obviously use it somewhere else. So that's my next plan, Mark. Mike 0, Juliet, Charlie Foxtrot 2 Echo 0, Romeo Papa Sierra.
Yeah, 2E0RPS, M0JCF. That's interesting, very interesting. It's interesting you say about the fig. Yeah, we've got a fig tree, but it's not very tall. It's quite a young fig. It produces figs in the spring, and they get to the size of an olive, and then they fall off. You know, the tree just probably isn't in the best place. We have got a south-facing garden, but it's up against the fence. So, and it's also being shaded, I think, somewhat by one of the hazel trees. So it's going to be a lot of years before that fig tree gets big enough to produce figs. Likewise with the walnut tree, it's going to be many years before it produces walnuts. And then the grapes, yeah, we've got grapes as well, and maybe they're very similar variety. Ours are black. They're very small, and they're very, very tight bunches. You can pick a bunch and hold the whole bunch in one hand. The grapes themselves are about the size of a pea, but they're very tightly packed. You can almost eat the grapes like you're eating a pear, and they have one pip in each one. So they're not as nice as a modern variety that, you know, you could just put them in your mouth and there's no pips. They remind me of when I was a kid, when grapes always had seeds in them and you had to either chew them, crunch them, or spit them out. So yeah, what I tend to do though is I tend to pick the grapes late in the summer, and I pass them on to my brother, who's a very keen winemaker, and he makes wine from them. He makes a red wine, and yeah, it's a bit on the dry side, but you know, it's not too bad. You know, it's just a fun thing to do. I used to make wine and beer all the time when I was younger, but I don't indulge in that so much. So, you know, I gave all of my winemaking equipment to my brother. He's got a small holding down in Kent, like not quite a farm, but it's a small holding. He's got lots and lots of land, and you know, he grows fruit, vegetables, he's got animals, that sort of thing. And so, you know, he's not quite self-sufficient, but you know, he's got the space and he's got the time and that. Well, he's a black cab driver, so he did retire once, but he's gone back to work. And my sister-in-law, his wife, she's a university lecturer. So, you know, they have time, and when they do, you know, they get out in the garden. And as I say, he does other things with his produce, apart from just eat it, you know, makes wine. And in fact, he makes wine from some of his waste products. I know one year he made wine from the peelings from his parsnips, you know. So he's quite resourceful like that. And I say I'm not as bad as that, you know. I like to produce stuff, and I like to preserve stuff if it looks like it's going to waste. But yeah, I don't go that mad. And of course, you're very near Oxley's Woods, aren't you? We quite often go walking in Oxley's Woods, Shepherd's Lee's Wood, which is across the road. We go to Castle Woods, we go to Seven Drew Castle. We go walking quite a lot. And quite often I look around for wild food. And, if I find chicken of the woods, that big fungus that grows on old dead trees and stuff, I'll collect some. I don't collect it all. I'll collect some and, take it home, slice it up, fry it in butter with some salt and pepper and have it on toast or something like that, I do like all of that. So, but Oxley's Woods is a fantastic place. I really like that, It's so varied within it. And, I've read the history. I had a book on Oxley's Woods, and I read the history of it. Of course, it was mainly planted with oak and other old hardwoods for the Navy, for the Royal Navy, going right back to King Henry VIII's time and probably before. But I know a lot of those trees were grown for the naval and for the shipbuilding industry, because obviously it's quite close to the River Thames as well. Very interesting indeed. 2E0RPS M0JCF.
Yeah, Roger, Mark, absolutely. We used to do wine in Italy with a family, but we're talking about 200 liters at the time. So it was quite a lot of wine. We had the pressing machine, well, it was all manual, and we actually gave it away as a present to a shop that sells wine in Italy. This was about 5 years ago we gave it away. It was quite big, one of those machines when you put the grapes and then you press it manually. And we used to buy the grapes when we used to do that. And it was like almost 5 or 6 of us spending a few days to do all this, and then the fermentation process and that. And usually it depends on the quantity of red grapes and white grapes. We usually used to make kind of rosé type of wine, and of course every year was different. And but that was for the family, for the entire family. So good memories, definitely. I know it's a nice thing to do, definitely a nice thing to do. And we used to the initial step when you press the grapes. We used to have a couple of girls, my cousins basically, that barefoot, just going on the grapes just to break it up. That was just following the traditions. And then we go into those. I remember the first thing that comes out, that kind of juice. There's a point where it's very sweet, but at the same time there is already a little bit of alcohol content already, because it starts fermenting pretty quickly. And I remember drinking that stuff. It was quite interesting. And Oxley's Wood, yes, we're very close. Yeah, you're right. We literally 5 minutes walk from here. I'm in the forest, in the wood, and we do go there as well, especially this time of the year. It's nice walk inside, and then you get to the top, have a nice cup of coffee, and then watch from the top, just chill out. And it's actually also nice up there with a little handheld. When you get to the top with a little 2 meters and HT. And we also go to the farm quite often. We go to the farm. There's when you go in, you can walk all the way. There's a little pond with tables. You can have a picnic in there. You can keep walking as well, and the road takes you to almost nowhere. But it's a nice walk. It's what I like about it is that it feels like countryside, but you actually not really in a country, but it feels like, well, it is a bit like a small portion of countryside. I think it's, we like it, yeah, we like it because, for me, I get to work on the London Bridge. That takes me like 30 minutes on the train, even less, 25, 26 minutes on the train, but it's nice that in 25 minutes you're in town, and then 25 minutes you are outside. I like that. I think it's important to leave a little bit outside the noise and chaos of the city. So in that respect, we're very lucky. I haven't been to the cafe on the top of the woods for a while, actually, for maybe a year now. So I always wondered if I'm sure there are probably companies out there, one of those big chain companies, I'm sure they would do anything to take that location. But I know it's a family-run business, and so that's I kind of like that in a way, because I mean, at least that's the way I remember it. There was still kind of a bit like the old days, No, I think it was only cash. I don't know if they accept credit cards in there. There was only cash until a couple of years ago, which is it's quite amazing. I like that. Very traditional place. So hopefully it stays that way. And not many people knows, I think, of those locations, because I found these areas by accident, really. I used to live in between Peckham Rye and East Dulwich, just in the middle. And then one day we heard about this lambing in at the farm, so we came all the way from there to here, but we never been in this area. At the time, we never knew we were going to move here, and then it was just a coincidence that we looked for properties. We weren't sure if we wanted to come all the way here or if we wanted to stay within Greenwich or Charlton. But then I said to my wife, let's go a little bit further out, and with the same money, instead of buying a flat, we can buy a house. And that's what we did. I'm glad we did that, because, it's a completely different life. I think it's definitely better quality life. Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Foxtrot, 2E0 Romeo Papa Sierra.
Yeah, 2E0RPS M0 JCF. Well, I know the farm that you're on about. We've taken, my wife's a registered childminder, so we sometimes take the children that she looks after over there. And yeah, it's a fun place. They've got bees as well, haven't they? They've got a bee farm there. It's just near the golf course. But yeah, I know the cafe on the top of the hill at Oxley's Woods. We was only in there probably 3 weeks ago. We took the dog for a walk, but they don't allow dogs inside. So, if it's not a perfect day, you've got to sit outside. And of course, everyone's dogs are barking and running around. But if you walk around, if you was to come out of the cafe, turn right, and it goes a pathway down the hill up into Jack Woods, and then follow the path, keep on going round, following it round to the right, you come to a really old, what would have been a manor house with a rose gardens, and it's in a poor state at the moment. It really does need some work. The fountain, etc., is not in operation. It needs a lot of repair work, but you may know the place that I'm talking about. But it's a really nice place to actually go and sit. It's sort of almost hidden. Not a lot of people know it's there, and you walk through an arched doorway, and you go into a very secret garden. So it's a nice place to walk around, and you can see the people that have been there in the past, because there are a lot of benches there with people's names on them, obviously dedicated to people that enjoyed that area and have since passed on. So it's yeah, that's a good place. But and then of course, if you carry on round, keep following your nose round to the right, and eventually you come to Sevendrug Castle, and you're quite right. Yeah, it's a great place for a handy or a walkie-talkie. I've taken one up there, and on the Cray Valley Sunday morning 2 metre net. Sometimes I've gone up there. We've gone walking the dog early. And if the net's starting at 10 and I know we're going to be out, sometimes I'll take the walkie-talkie with me, and I'll go on the net from Sevendrug Castle. But I keep saying that what I'm going to do is go into the castle and go up onto the very top of it and operate from there. But I know the club, Cray Valley Club, they do the Jota. No, Yota, sorry, they do Yota. Oh no, it is Jota. Jamboree on the air, where they take the scouts. They take the scouts and the brownies and the guides, and they go into Sevendrug Castle for the weekend, and they do a lot of operating from there, normally on 40 metres and 2 metres. So it's a great place, great takeoff. And also, you know, there's that TV antenna there, the big black one, the big solid black one. That's been up for sale for some time now. I don't know if anyone's made any plans to buy it, but there was a joking talk, and I think it was tongue in cheek. It was joking that you know, Cray Valley should buy that and stick a repeater and a beacon and all sorts up there. But you know, it's a lot of money. That's good real estate up there, just to put, you know, a transmitter there. You know, I personally wouldn't spend all that money just to put a repeater there. But you know, yeah, it has been joked a few times. But yeah, I'm not sure what the state of play is about that now. But I know the antenna was decommissioned some time ago, and it's almost like a landmark. I mean, I remember it as a kid. We moved from Charlton to Eltham at Christmas 1972. And I know that summer of 73, that was the first time that I went to places like Seven Droog Castle, Castle Woods, etc. And I remember we discovered, you know, that antenna on top of a small building, and we was always climbing all over it, you know. I'm sure it's, you know, you probably can't do that now. It's probably surrounded by fences and barbed wire and that. But you know, with the water tower and all that, we was always exploring around there. Fantastic times. Of course, now youngsters don't do that, do they? You know, they're not even allowed out to play in the woods on their own, let alone go off. You know, like at summer holidays in the 70s, you'd be pushed out of the door at sunrise. You disappear for the whole day, and then it's an old cliche, but you'd come back when the street lights lit up. You know, admittedly that's quite late. That's in the summer. You're talking gone 9 o'clock, gone 9:30, so probably a bit earlier than that. Or you was meant to be home in time for evening dinner. You know, that was it. But a long time ago for me. I mean, I'm 61 now, so it was a long time ago. But the memories are still fresh. 2E0RPS M0 JCF.
Yeah, Roger, Mark. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do know those areas. Yeah, we did have our share of walks by the castle and any other places. We even end up in Eltham. We went also the other way, going to Woolwich, more like, yeah, more that direction. So we definitely had lots of walks in those areas. We love walking, really, we do. And you're right. It's interesting how when you are in places like this, for instance, when I'm on the top of the hill and I see the water tower, I always think about it. Oh, this would be a perfect location for having an aerial. And there's no wonder why. There are quite few aerials up there. You're right. There's also the mobile phone aerials, repeaters. You can tell there's a tower behind one of the houses in there on the top of the hill. Because thinking about it, when you are at the top of the hill, you have London really on one side. All London is there, and on the other side, obviously, you got Kent and the Thames. And so I wonder sometime, I think, if being on this end, on this side of the hill, it helps in terms of noise. Because think about it, all the noise, talking about HF noise, you know, from the different, from the millions of tiny transmitters, vertical transmitters that are in the city. I wonder if being on this side of the hill kind of act as a barrier a little bit. I don't know. So hopefully it does a little bit. Hopefully it kind of keeps a little bit of noise down. Because I personally, I don't have, I know people have some serious issues with noise. I mean, obviously I do have noise, it's normal, but it's not to the point that I can't use the radio. So luckily it's not too bad at this end. And yeah, things have definitely changed in the last, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do remember getting on a bicycle and as a young boy, and yeah, being on a bicycle all day, and then coming back a time for food, for dinners, basically. Yeah, but it was with my cousins and friends. It was family. The family was a bigger thing, you know. It was much more extended, and now And when I think about it, my grandparents, uncles and cousins, I think altogether it's about 20 of us. When I think about now, my family, I mean, it's just the three of us. And then, of course, my mom is in Italy, so, and all the others are spread around the world. So, but here in UK, as a family, just the three of us. So, yeah, so definitely things have changed, yeah. This definitely is interesting. And of course, there was no telephones, no mobile telephones, so when you were out, you were out. There was no way of communicating with your family, with your mom and father. You were just out. But I think we were less worried about things anyway, in general, I think. And, yeah, I mean, we have lots of information now, obviously. We've got so much information, but that doesn't necessarily translate into knowledge. That is the problem. Where going back 40 years ago, maybe you had less information, but the things you were reading, the books, and they were making an impression, I think, more of an impression, even TV programs. In those days, now there's hundreds of channels and nothing really says, nothing tells me anymore really. Where then we only had a couple of channels on TV and there was specific programs which really made an impact. Music programs as well and stuff like that. And music, yeah, let's not talk about music, but that's another another big subject. I mean, music was obviously a big drive for many people as well in those days. Okay, Mark, I'm going to pass it to you, and then I will have to go because I collected my wife from hospital yesterday, and she's back today here home, and obviously I'm acting as a carer for the next probably week. She had an operation. But all good. But obviously, I'm doing all the things that that I need to do, shopping and cooking and things like that. So I will have to go shortly. But it's been a pleasure talking to you. So I'll pass it to you for your final M0JCF 2E0RPS.
Yeah, 2E0RPS, M0JCF returning for that final. No, Rod, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, and a really nice conversation. You know, I think it's good as well because we live relatively local to each other. I think you're about 2 miles, maybe a bit less, 1.5 miles as the crow flies, maybe a couple of miles if I had to drive to you. We do actually go in your direction when we go to Oxley's Woods or Sevendrew Castle. We go from where I live towards Falconwood Station and then make our way along that main road near you, and then we actually come down your road. We cut through so we don't have to go by the motorcycle shop where the traffic lights are. We cut across there to that part of Shooters Hill, and then we go up Shooters Hill to either Oxley's or Oxley's or Sevendrew Castle Woods. So yeah, it's so knowing the area, knowing where you live, etc. It made the conversation that more relatable. That's what I was trying to say. You know, I can picture all the things that you were saying, etc. It was really good, really nice conversation. I've made a video of this one actually because you know I video everything nowadays to stick on my YouTube channel. So I may stick this one up. I may just isolate it and just put it up as a local rag chew about local stuff. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, all the very best. Wish the best wishes to your good lady wife. Mine is actually out with my oldest daughter at the moment. They're at a spa down Sidcup, Chislehurst way. They've gone to a health place for a couple of hours, you know, where they have a massage and have their fingers done and sauna, that sort of thing. I think my wife bought it for my daughter a couple of years ago and it was for 2 people, and she's finally decided to use it. So that's where they are. Hence, you know, I'm sort of doing what I want to do without being told what to do. But no, she's lovely, my wife. As I say, my wife is a multiple sclerosis sufferer, but she just gets on with it. But you know, I'm there. It's a labour of love. I've been with my wife 34 years now, so you know, it's we do what we do because we have to, you know, and we want to. It's not something that we could do anything about. So I know, yeah, you take care of your wife, and sure, she'll be up and running soon, and moaning at you to go and do something other than radio or music. All the very best. I'll probably put out a few more calls, see if anyone comes back, and if not, I'm going to get my best self back in the sunshine to start scaring the birds again. Cheers, mate. 73 2E0RPS M0JCF.
Roger, Mark, a pleasure talking to you as well, as always. And yeah, of course, yeah, if the video ends up on your channel, absolutely, I will be checking that, no problem. I do check your channel from time to time, and I do notice, yeah, that you do have several videos with the net and so on, which is it's nice. I like that. It's also good. Okay, we're very close, so I can't. Usually, when I check videos online, it's mainly to check the signal. But obviously, in this particular case, it doesn't make much sense because we're very close. Yeah, we're 2.6 mile distance, so pretty close. But again, well, thanks again, Mark. Pleasure. Perhaps one day, yes, we should all go up there and have a coffee or something up on the cafe. So we'll keep in touch because now the weather has changed, and I will definitely be going there. So perhaps one day, if we both aiming to the same direction, we can meet up and have a coffee or something. Okay, Mark, 73 for now. Thanks also for logging me, and we'll catch up soon. M0JCF 2E0RPS 73.
73, mate. Take care. Have I lost all transmission?